Welcome to my channel Echoes of Coin. Most people glance at a nickel and see just 5 cents. But hidden in plain sight are Jefferson nickels worth far more than face value. From rare errors and full-step varieties to high-grade strikes, some of these ordinary-looking coins from 1964, 1972, 1983, 1995, 1996, and even 2013 can sell for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. The secret is knowing exactly what to look for before these treasures disappear from circulation. The 1964 United States 5-cent coin, commonly referred to as the Jefferson nickel, represents one of the most historically significant pieces of American coinage from the mid-20th century. While at first glance it may appear to be just another circulation coin, the story behind the 1964 nickel is filled with history, economics, minting complexities, and its long-lasting impact on numismatics. Collectors, historians, and casual coin hunters alike often view this particular date as a fascinating turning point in U.S. coinage, especially due to the massive mintage, unique design elements, and the broader monetary context of the 1960s. The coin's obverse features the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson's portrait, designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, had been introduced in 1938 after winning a design competition to replace the Buffalo nickel. Schlag's interpretation presented Jefferson in a dignified neoclassical style, emphasizing strength and wisdom. Inscriptions on the obverse include the words, "In God We Trust" on the left, "Liberty," followed by the date 1964 on the right, with Jefferson's image dominating the central field. This design, though simple in its arrangement, embodies the solemn ideals of America during the Cold War era. The reverse depicts Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home, designed in neoclassical style, which remains one of the most iconic architectural structures in the United States. Above Monticello, the Latin phrase "E pluribus unum" proclaims unity from diversity, while directly beneath lies the name of the estate Monticello in bold letters. At the bottom are the denomination 5 cents and the issuing country United States of America. The Jefferson nickel was one of the few American coins of the era to balance national identity, classical architecture, and personal commemoration within a single artistic frame. The 1964 Jefferson nickel holds a special place in numismatic history because of the unprecedented mintage numbers. Facing a national coin shortage during the early 1960s, the United States mint struck an astounding number of nickels in 1964. Between the Philadelphia and Denver mints combined, production surpassed 2.8 billion nickels, making it the single largest mintage year in the history of the denomination at that time. This effort was undertaken to meet the rapidly expanding demand for coinage in circulation, fueled by post-war economic growth, rising consumerism, and increasing population mobility. However, despite its massive production, the 1964 nickel has not faded into obscurity. Instead, it has attracted collectors because of its varieties, errors, and the broader context in which it was minted. For many coin enthusiasts, the sheer volume of 1,964 nickels makes it an interesting paradox, common in general circulation yet capable of commanding premiums in high grades, proofs, and error varieties. The coin shortage of the early 1960s cannot be understood without recognizing the social and economic atmosphere of the United States at that time. The booming economy of the post-war period had increased the demand for cash transactions, vending machines, jukeboxes, and parking meters, all of which heavily relied on small-denomination coins. At the same time, rising silver prices were creating hoarding behaviors, especially for silver dimes, quarters, and half-dollars. As people pulled silver coins out of circulation, the shortage of small change became a real issue. Although the nickel contained no silver, the mint ramped up production of all denominations to ensure the economy had sufficient coinage for everyday use. One of the most distinctive aspects of the 1964 nickel is its place as the final date struck with the original pre-1965 metal composition during a major transitional moment in U.S. coinage. While the nickel had always been struck from a copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, the nation's focus on changing silver coins after 1964 gave extra attention to all coinage in circulation. The 1964 issue thus represents both the continuation of tradition and the threshold of a new era in U.S. money. Collectors often note the variety of mint marks in the 1964 series. Philadelphia coins were struck without mint marks, while Denver issues bore the D mint mark located to the right of Monticello on the reverse. Proof coins were produced at the Philadelphia Mint for collectors, and these proof examples offer particularly sharp strikes, mirror-like fields, and frosted details on Jefferson's portrait. The proof sets of 1964 are highly sought after today, especially deep cameo examples where contrast between fields and devices is strong. Varieties and errors from this year also fuel the ongoing fascination with the 1964 nickel. Among the most notable are double die obverse varieties, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and die cracks that create unique and collectible pieces. Certain full-step examples, where Monticello's steps on the reverse are sharply defined, are extremely desirable in high-grade conditions. Full-step nickels from 1964 are rare due to striking difficulties, making them a prime target for specialists in the Jefferson nickel series. The presence of the motto, "In God We Trust," on the obverse further ties the coin to the cultural and political environment of its time. During the 1950s and 1960s, the United States was deeply engaged in the ideological battle of the Cold War. Adding and emphasizing religious mottos on coinage was part of a broader effort to distinguish American values from those of atheistic communism. For many Americans, carrying coins inscribed with this phrase became a subtle yet constant reminder of national identity, faith, and unity. The word liberty, placed beside Jefferson's portrait, resonates strongly with his legacy as the champion of individual freedoms. Jefferson's writings, particularly the Declaration of Independence, embodied the essence of liberty, making his association with this inscription especially fitting. The pairing of his image with the word liberty made each 1964 nickel not merely a piece of currency but a circulating statement of American principles. From the perspective of design continuity, the 1964 nickel stands as one of the last dates before the coinage of the United States underwent significant redesigns in later decades. Felix Schlag's design would remain in use for decades, but with subtle modifications, making 1964 both a continuation and a milestone year for Jefferson nickels. The 1972 United States 5-cent coin, more commonly referred to as the Jefferson nickel, stands as one of the intriguing pieces of circulating American currency from the early 1970s. While on the surface it may appear as a simple, ordinary coin, its context, production, design features, and collectible aspects reveal a much deeper story about the history of American money, the role of the mint during a time of national transition, and the enduring appeal of the Jefferson nickel series. The obverse of the 1972 nickel continues to feature the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, whose ideas about liberty, democracy, and education left a permanent mark on the nation's identity. Jefferson's left-facing bust was designed by Felix Schlag, who won the design competition in 1938 when the Jefferson nickel replaced the beloved Buffalo nickel. Schlag's design captured Jefferson with a calm yet authoritative expression, embodying the vision of a founding father in a time when the United States was grappling with both domestic and international challenges. Around his portrait are inscriptions that hold symbolic meaning. To the left, curving along the rim, appears "In God We Trust," a motto that had been prominently displayed on coins during the mid-20th century as a statement of national faith. On the right side of Jefferson's portrait, the word liberty appears in bold letters, followed by the date 1972, with a small star separating the two. Together, these inscriptions link Jefferson's likeness with both spiritual trust and the principle of liberty, two concepts central to American identity in the Cold War era. The reverse of the coin features a depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's neoclassical Virginia home. Schlag's representation of Monticello is both architectural and symbolic, providing a sense of permanence and refinement. Above the dome of Monticello, the traditional motto "E pluribus unum" can be seen, expressing unity among diversity. Beneath the structure lies the inscription Monticello, and at the bottom, the denomination 5 cents and the issuing authority United States of America. Together, these details transform the coin into more than just money. They represent heritage, national pride, and continuity of American ideals. From a mintage perspective, the 1972 nickel was struck in large numbers to meet circulation demands. At the Philadelphia Mint, over 217 million coins were produced without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint struck more than 351 million with the D mint mark, located to the right of Monticello on the reverse. The San Francisco Mint, in addition, produced over 3.2 million proof nickels for collectors, each carefully struck with polished dies and special planchets to create mirror-like surfaces and strong detail contrast. In total, production of the 1972 Jefferson nickel exceeded 500 million coins across all facilities, making it a very common issue in circulation but still an important date within the broader Jefferson nickel series. Although abundant in general circulation, the 1972 nickel presents challenges to collectors when it comes to high-grade examples with sharp strikes. Jefferson nickels from this era are notorious for weak strikes, particularly on Monticello steps. Collectors place great value on what are called full steps nickels, where the steps on Monticello are fully visible and well-defined. Because of the striking difficulties in 1972, true full steps examples are scarce, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, making them highly sought after in top condition. This distinction between ordinary circulation strikes and the rare full step strikes contributes to the complexity and depth of collecting this coin. The early 1970s marked a transitional time for American coinage. The nation had recently abandoned the silver content in its dimes, quarters, and half dollars after 1964 due to rising silver prices, and by 1971, even the silver-clad Eisenhower dollar had moved toward reduced silver compositions. The nickel, however, remained unchanged in its long-standing composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a durable alloy first introduced during the Civil War. As such, the 1972 Jefferson nickel carried forward this legacy of stability even as other denominations underwent dramatic changes. This continuity made the nickel a reliable and familiar part of daily commerce for millions of Americans. Economically, the early 1970s in the United States were a period of inflationary pressures, international monetary realignments, and shifting consumer behaviors. Everyday items like vending machines, payphones, and parking meters depended heavily on nickels, giving the 5-cent piece a unique importance in everyday life. The sheer quantity of 1972 nickels produced reflected not only population growth but also the practical need for coins in a rapidly modernizing society. For collectors, the 1972 nickel has become particularly interesting due to its varieties and era coins. Among the most significant are double die obverse varieties, in which inscriptions like Liberty or the date show doubling under magnification. These double dies can command substantial premiums depending on their clarity and rarity. Repunched mint marks from Denver issues are another area of study, where the D appears to have been struck more than once, resulting in overlapping impressions. Off-center strikes, die cracks, planchet flaws, and other striking errors are also known from 1972 and are eagerly collected as they provide unique and visually striking deviations from the normal design. Proof nickels from 1972 hold their own significance in numismatics. These coins, struck at the San Francisco Mint, were never intended for circulation but were sold in proof sets directly to collectors. Their highly polished dies and careful handling produced coins with brilliant surfaces, frosted devices, and sharp details. Particularly desirable are deep cameo-proof examples, where the contrast between the mirror-like background fields and the frosted raised designs is exceptionally strong. Such coins, when preserved in pristine condition, remain highlights of Jefferson nickel collections. Beyond their physical features, 1972 nickels embody the symbolism of their inscriptions. The phrase "In God We Trust" resonates with the cultural climate of the 1970s, as America faced challenges ranging from the Vietnam War to political shifts and economic uncertainties. Carrying coins inscribed with this national motto provided citizens with a sense of reassurance and identity. The word liberty beside Jefferson's profile also served as a constant reminder of the freedoms Americans valued, especially during a time of social change and civil rights progress. Numismatically, the grading of 1972 nickels plays a key role in their desirability. Circulated examples are readily available and often hold little more than face value, but uncirculated pieces, especially those in mint state 65 or higher, become far scarcer. When combined with full steps designation, these coins transform from common circulation strikes into highly desirable collector's items worth many times their face value. Third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC have helped establish benchmarks for rarity, documenting how elusive, pristine examples of the 1972 nickel can be. The Jefferson nickel series as a whole has always presented both accessibility and depth. On one hand, nearly every American has handled Jefferson nickels in everyday life, making them familiar and approachable. On the other hand, the pursuit of varieties, errors, and full-step designations introduces a challenge that can occupy advanced collectors for decades. The 1972 issue fits squarely into this dual identity, common in general circulation but surprisingly scarce in specific high-grade or variety forms. In terms of design continuity, the 1972 nickel represents the enduring legacy of Felix Schlag's work. Schlag's original Monticello reverse, while slightly modified over the decades, had remained in use since 1938 and would continue until the Westward Journey nickel series began in 2004. This long span of use highlights how the 1972 issue is part of a design tradition that carried Jefferson's image and Monticello across generations of Americans, embedding them deeply into the nation's coinage heritage. Culturally, coins like the 1972 nickel are not merely money but artifacts that reflect their time. They circulated during a year when the United States was grappling with the final years of the Vietnam conflict, the unfolding Watergate scandal, and significant technological and social changes. To hold a 1972 nickel is to hold a piece of that history, an everyday object that passed through the hands of millions while carrying forward messages of trust, liberty, and national unity. The 1983 United States 5-cent coin, widely known as the Jefferson nickel, represents a fascinating chapter in American numismatics. To the casual observer, it may appear as an ordinary circulation piece, one of millions that passed through the hands of Americans in the early 1980s. But within this coin lies an important story of artistry, history, minting practices, economics, and collector intrigue. The 1983 Jefferson nickel not only continued a long tradition of honoring Thomas Jefferson, but also reflected the evolving role of coinage in modern society. The obverse design of the coin features the left-facing bust of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag in 1938. Jefferson, the third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence, is portrayed with a solemn and determined expression. Schlag's design had been selected through a national competition to replace the Buffalo nickel, and by 1983 it had already been in use for 45 years, becoming one of the most familiar portraits in American coinage. The inscriptions on the obverse provide both symbolic and chronological meaning. To the left of Jefferson's profile appears the motto, "In God We Trust," expressing national faith and unity. To the right, the word liberty appears in elegant lettering, followed by the date 1983, with a small star acting as a separator. These words, paired with Jefferson's image, reinforced the American ideals of trust in divine providence and devotion to liberty. The reverse design presents Monticello, Jefferson's neoclassical Virginia home. Schlag's depiction captures the architectural balance and refinement of Monticello, with its central dome and symmetrical wings. Above the building rests the Latin motto E pluribus unum, proclaiming unity from diversity. Directly beneath Monticello is the estate's name, while the denomination 5 cents and the issuing nation United States of America are placed along the bottom rim. This reverse design, enduring since 1938, gave the nickel a strong sense of continuity and tradition, reminding citizens of Jefferson's lasting contributions to the nation. In terms of production, the 1983 nickel was struck in substantial quantities to meet circulation needs. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 561 million examples, identified by the absence of a mint mark on coins of that year. The Denver Mint added more than 661 million nickels bearing the D mint mark, placed to the right of Monticello on the reverse. Together, these two mints produced well over 1 billion circulation strikes in 1983. Additionally, the San Francisco Mint struck approximately 3.3 million proof nickels for inclusion in collector proof sets. These proof coins, carefully manufactured with polished dies and special planchets, displayed brilliant mirror-like fields and frosted details, offering a superior level of craftsmanship compared to circulation strikes. Although common in everyday circulation, the 1983 nickel holds importance for collectors, especially when found in high grades. Circulated examples are easy to obtain and generally worth only face value, but uncirculated pieces with sharp strikes and pristine surfaces become more elusive. The Jefferson nickel series, particularly from the 1960s through the 1980s, is notorious for weak strikes, most evident on Monticello steps. Collectors prize nickels designated as full steps examples, where the steps are completely and sharply defined without interruption. In 1983, achieving full step strikes was particularly difficult, meaning that high-grade full steps nickels are rare and command significant premiums in the numismatic market. The composition of the 1983 nickel remained consistent with its long-standing formula of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This metallic blend had been introduced in 1866 during the Civil War era and had proven durable for circulation. Unlike dimes, quarters, and half dollars, which underwent composition changes due to rising silver prices in the mid-1960s, the nickel retained its alloy into the 1980s. This stability gave the coin both continuity and reliability, making it one of the most unchanged denominations in modern U.S. coinage. Economically, 1983 was a year marked by recovery from the deep recession of the early 1980s. Inflation, which had plagued the nation in the 1970s, was beginning to stabilize, while unemployment slowly decreased. Everyday commerce still relied heavily on small-denomination coins, with vending machines, payphones, parking meters, and transportation systems depending on nickels for proper operation. The high mintage of the 1983 nickel reflected the mint's effort to keep pace with circulation demands during a time when coins remained central to American daily life. From the standpoint of varieties and errors, 1983 nickels provide interesting opportunities for collectors. Double die varieties exist, though they are less prominent than on certain earlier or later issues. These double dies, most visible in the inscriptions or date, show clear doubling when viewed under magnification. Repunched mint marks from Denver issues are also known, the result of hand-punching mint marks into working dies during this period. Errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, planchet flaws, and clipped planchets add further layers of intrigue. Each error transforms what would otherwise be a common coin into a unique collectible with added desirability. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint in 1983 are another highlight. These proof nickels, never intended for circulation, were sold directly to collectors in proof sets. Their quality is usually exceptional, though even within proofs, certain examples stand out. Coins with strong deep cameo contrast, where Jefferson's portrait and Monticello appear frosted against deeply reflective fields, are especially coveted. Proof nickels from 1983 preserved in pristine condition within their original sets often become the cornerstones of Jefferson nickel collections. The inscriptions on the 1983 nickel carry timeless symbolism. The phrase "In God We Trust" held strong cultural significance in the 1980s, a period defined by renewed emphasis on faith and patriotism in American life. The word liberty beside Jefferson's portrait connected the coin to the nation's founding principles, while the Latin motto E pluribus unum underscored America's identity as a nation forged from many peoples and states. In a time of political and social change, these inscriptions reinforced unity and shared values. For numismatists, the grading of 1983 nickels remains critical to their valuation. Coins in mint state 65 and higher are scarce, and when accompanied by the full steps designation, they can be considered rare. Population reports from grading services like PCGS and NGC reveal that only a small percentage of submitted 1983 nickels achieve these top grades. This scarcity has driven demand among specialized collectors who pursue registry sets of Jefferson nickels, where each date and mint mark must be represented by the finest possible example. The Jefferson nickel series as a whole has long provided a balance between accessibility and challenge. On one hand, nearly every American has encountered Jefferson nickels in everyday transactions, making them instantly recognizable and widely available. On the other hand, the search for high-grade coins, varieties, and full steps examples provides endless depth for serious numismatists. The 1983 issue epitomizes this dual nature, common in circulation yet challenging to acquire in truly exceptional form. Culturally, the 1983 nickel serves as a window into its era. It circulated during a year when the United States was experiencing shifts in technology, politics, and international relations. Ronald Reagan was serving his first term as president, and the nation was redefining its role in the Cold War. At the same time, the use of coins in everyday commerce remained strong, even as electronic payment systems began their slow rise. Each 1983 nickel that passed through hands in supermarkets, diners, or payphones carried with it not only monetary value but also messages of history, unity, and national pride. The endurance of Felix Schlag's design is another point of significance. From its introduction in 1938 through 1983, the Jefferson nickel's design remained largely unchanged, a testament to its acceptance and symbolic power. While minor modifications were made to the relief and details, the core imagery of Jefferson's portrait and Monticello endured for generations. By 1983, Americans had grown accustomed to this familiar design, making it one of the longest-running portraits in U.S. coinage history. Ultimately, the 1983 Jefferson nickel represents far more than just a small piece of currency. It reflects the continuation of a national design tradition, the mint's commitment to supplying coinage for commerce, the challenges of achieving quality in mass production, and the deep symbolic messages carried by everyday objects. For collectors, it offers both accessibility and difficulty, from common circulated examples to rare full-steps gems. For historians, it serves as a reminder of America in the early 1980s, a nation balancing tradition and change, faith and liberty, unity and diversity. The 1995 United States 5-cent coin, commonly called the Jefferson nickel, continues the legacy of one of America's most enduring coin designs. At first glance, this coin may appear like a common, everyday piece of change. Yet within its design, minting process, and historical context lies a fascinating story that connects economics, artistry, politics, and numismatics. Collectors and historians alike find value in understanding how the 1995 nickel fits into the long tradition of American coinage, while also representing the specific conditions of its own time. The obverse of the 1995 nickel presents the left-facing bust of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag in 1938. Jefferson's portrait is solemn, thoughtful, and firm, a fitting reflection of his historical role as the third president of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Around the portrait, inscriptions balance artistry with meaning. To the left of Jefferson's profile appears the phrase, "In God We Trust," reaffirming the national motto that by the late 20th century had become a familiar and integral part of U.S. currency. To the right of Jefferson, along the rim, the word liberty is followed by the date 1995, separated by a small star. This placement unites Jefferson's image with the nation's ideals of faith and liberty, both of which carried strong symbolic weight in 1995, as America navigated a rapidly changing global and domestic landscape. The reverse of the coin showcases Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, designed in neoclassical style and symbolizing Jefferson's intellect and architectural creativity. Above the dome of Monticello appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Beneath the building is the name Monticello, while the denomination 5 cents and the issuing country United States of America stretch across the lower rim. Schlag's Monticello design had been used since 1938, making it one of the longest-lasting reverse designs in American numismatics. In 1995, this familiar structure served as both a literal image of Jefferson's home and a metaphorical representation of national unity and endurance. From a production standpoint, the 1995 nickel was minted in large numbers to meet circulation needs across the country. The Philadelphia Mint produced more than 776 million coins, while the Denver Mint struck over 889 million nickels. Each Denver example bears a small D mint mark on the reverse, placed to the right of Monticello. Philadelphia nickels from 1995 carry no mint mark, as was the tradition at that time. Meanwhile, the San Francisco Mint created about 2.1 million proof nickels for collectors, included in annual proof sets. These proof coins were struck with polished dies and special planchets, producing brilliant mirror-like fields and frosted designs that offered a sharp contrast compared to circulation strikes. In total, over 1.6 billion 1995 nickels were produced across all facilities, making it one of the higher mintage years of the Jefferson nickel series. Despite this massive production, the 1995 nickel presents challenges and opportunities for collectors. Circulated examples are extremely common and worth only face value, but higher-grade specimens tell a different story. Collectors pay close attention to strike quality, surfaces, and details, particularly on the reverse depiction of Monticello. Jefferson nickels are known for their difficulty in achieving strong strikes, and in 1995 this issue was no different. The most coveted examples are those with full steps designations, where the steps of Monticello are fully visible and sharply defined. These coins are scarce because most circulation strikes from 1995 show weak detail in this area. As a result, a 1995 nickel with full, uninterrupted steps becomes a prized collectible, often worth many times its face value. The alloy of the 1995 nickel maintained the long-standing composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This formula had been in use since the Civil War era and had proven durable, resistant to wear, and suitable for the demands of commerce. By 1995, other denominations had undergone changes in design or composition, but the nickel retained its classic alloy. This stability gave the coin a sense of continuity that linked the 1995 issue to generations of earlier nickels, while also ensuring practical reliability in circulation. Economically, the mid-1990s were a period of growth and optimism in the United States. Inflation had slowed compared to the volatile decades of the 1970s and early 1980s, unemployment was falling, and the economy was expanding. Yet coins remained essential for everyday life. Vending machines, arcade machines, payphones, public transportation systems, and countless daily transactions still depended heavily on nickels. The sheer number of 1,995 nickels minted demonstrates how vital the denomination remained to commerce, even as debit cards and electronic payment systems slowly began to rise. Varieties and mint errors from 1995 add further depth to the story of this coin. Double-die obverse varieties, though relatively scarce, exist and can be identified by close examination of the inscriptions or date, where doubling may appear. Denver issues sometimes display repunched mint marks, though by the mid-1990s mint mark punching was transitioning toward machine application, making such varieties less common than in earlier decades. Other mint errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, and clipped planchets are known for 1995 nickels, each creating unique and collectible examples that differ from standard circulation strikes. Collectors specializing in errors value these coins both for their rarity and for the insight they provide into the minting process. The proof nickels from San Francisco hold particular appeal for numismatists. These coins were struck multiple times under high pressure, resulting in crisp details and mirror-like surfaces. The most desirable are deep cameo proofs, where Jefferson's portrait and Monticello appear with frosted contrast against reflective backgrounds. Collectors seek out pristine examples graded by services like PCGS and NGC, as high-grade deep cameo proofs from 1995 represent the finest quality the mint produced that year. The inscriptions on the 1995 nickel carry meaning that extends beyond design. "In God We Trust" reflected a national identity rooted in faith and tradition, a phrase especially resonant during the 1990s, when America was navigating new global responsibilities after the Cold War. The word liberty, positioned beside Jefferson, tied the coin directly to the values he championed. Meanwhile, E pluribus unum reinforced the United States' commitment to unity amid diversity. Together, these inscriptions transformed an everyday coin into a message of national heritage and civic ideals. For collectors, the grading of 1995 nickels remains essential in determining value. Circulated coins are abundant, but uncirculated examples in mint state 65 or higher are far less common, especially with full steps detail. Population reports from major grading services show that only a small fraction of 1995 nickels achieve these top grades, making them coveted by advanced collectors. The pursuit of registry sets, where collectors aim to build the highest graded sets of Jefferson nickels by date and mint mark, has fueled strong demand for superb examples of 1995 nickels, particularly those with the elusive full steps designation. The Jefferson nickel series itself represents both accessibility and challenge, and the 1995 issue perfectly illustrates this dual character. On one hand, it is one of the most common coins in circulation from the decade, easily found in pocket change and coin rolls. On the other hand, the quest for pristine uncirculated coins, rare varieties, proof deep cameos, and full steps examples makes it a coin that can test the dedication and expertise of even advanced numismatists. Culturally, the 1995 nickel belongs to an era of transition. It circulated during the mid-1990s when the United States was experiencing technological change, globalization, and shifts in everyday life. Personal computers and the internet were becoming widespread, yet coins like the nickel still played a daily role in commerce. Each 1995 nickel that passed through supermarkets, diners, parking meters, or vending machines was a reminder of national history, carrying Jefferson's portrait and mottos of unity and liberty into the lives of millions. The design continuity of the Jefferson nickel is another key point of reflection. Schlag's portrait and Monticello design had endured for nearly 6 decades by 1995, making it one of the longest-running designs in American numismatic history. While subtle modifications to details and relief had been made over the years, the core design remained unchanged. This consistency meant that the 1995 nickel looked remarkably similar to nickels struck in earlier generations, linking Americans of the 1990s with their parents, grandparents, and even great-grandparents who had handled Jefferson nickels decades earlier. Ultimately, the 1995 Jefferson nickel serves as more than just a small denomination of currency. It represents the stability of American coinage, the continuation of Jefferson's legacy, the mint's commitment to mass production and quality, and the enduring power of inscriptions like trust, liberty, and unity. For collectors, it offers challenges in the pursuit of high-grade full steps examples and rare varieties. For historians, it captures the mood and conditions of America in the 1990s. For everyday people, it was an object of exchange, passing unnoticed through countless hands, yet carrying the weight of history and national identity. The 1996 United States 5-cent coin, widely recognized as part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, carries the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, America's 3rd president and one of the nation's most influential founding fathers. While on the surface the 1996 nickel may seem like an ordinary circulation coin, its context, design, varieties, minting statistics, and collector significance make it an important entry in the history of modern U.S. coinage. Every detail of the 1996 nickel, from its obverse inscriptions to the strike characteristics and mint production totals, reflects both the enduring stability of the Jefferson nickel series and the gradual changes in the numismatic world of the late 20th century. The obverse of the coin continues to feature the left-facing portrait of Jefferson, designed by German-American sculptor Felix Schlag. Schlag's design had been in use since 1938 after winning the Mint's design competition to replace the Buffalo nickel. The portrait is neoclassical in appearance, emphasizing Jefferson's strength, resolve, and intellectual depth. The inscriptions around the portrait are of critical importance to both collectors and historians. To the left of Jefferson's image appears the motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that had long been a central feature of American coinage and carried deep cultural significance, especially during the Cold War decades. To the right side of the portrait are the word liberty, followed by the date 1996, along with a small mint mark indicating where the coin was produced. The balance of lettering and portraiture gives the obverse a solemn, dignified appearance that has endured for decades. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's neoclassical Virginia estate, presented with careful architectural details. Above the building appears the Latin phrase e pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a reminder of the unity of the states. Beneath the building lies the name Monticello, with 5 cents and United States of America inscribed in bold letters. The design communicates a strong sense of tradition, architecture, and Jefferson's lasting influence on American culture. From a minting perspective, the 1996 nickel was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints for circulation, as well as at the San Francisco Mint for proof issues. The Philadelphia mint coins bear no mint mark, while the Denver issues carry the D mint mark, and the San Francisco proofs bear the S mint mark. Proof coins were struck using specially prepared dies and polished planchets, producing mirror-like surfaces and frosted devices that are highly sought after by collectors. For circulation strikes, billions of coins were produced between Philadelphia and Denver, ensuring wide availability for everyday commerce. The mintage figures of 1996 demonstrate the scale of U.S. coin production in the 1990s. Tens of millions of nickels were produced at each mint to meet the ongoing demand for coinage. Despite the rise of electronic transactions and credit card usage in the late 20th century, cash remained a dominant medium of exchange in everyday commerce, and coins such as the nickel were crucial for vending machines, parking meters, toll booths, and countless retail transactions. The 1996 nickel, therefore, was not just a piece for collectors but a practical necessity of American life. Numismatically, the 1996 nickel holds interest for several reasons. One of the most notable aspects of this date is the quality of strike. Collectors of Jefferson nickels often look for examples with full steps on the Monticello design. Full steps refer to the horizontal lines on the steps of Monticello being fully struck and visible without interruptions. These are rare on many Jefferson nickel issues because of the challenges in achieving sharp strikes on the reverse. For 1996, full-step examples exist but are not common in circulation, making them prized by registry set collectors. High-grade, full-step nickels from this year can command strong premiums compared to regular strikes. Another point of collector interest in the 1996 nickel lies in error varieties and minting anomalies. Repunched mint marks, die cracks, off-center strikes, and double die varieties can all appear on 1996 nickels. While many of these errors are scarce, they capture the attention of error specialists who value uniqueness and rarity. Even minor anomalies, such as die chips on Jefferson's eye or Monticello's dome, can create collectible varieties that distinguish one coin from another in an otherwise common mintage. The broader context of the 1990s is also essential in understanding the place of the 1996 nickel. By this time, America's coinage system was well established, yet collectors were beginning to anticipate changes. The U.S. Mint was preparing for the state quarters program, which would launch in 1999 and revolutionize modern coin collecting by introducing new designs into circulation. Although the Jefferson nickel remained unchanged in 1996, it was part of a coinage landscape that was about to experience renewal and heightened public interest. The 1996 issue thus serves as a bridge between the older traditions of long-running coin designs and the more dynamic, collector-friendly programs of the late 1990s and early 2000s. The presence of the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" on the obverse of the 1996 nickel reflect deep symbolic meaning. By the 1990s, these inscriptions had become fully normalized and expected features of American coinage. The phrase "In God We Trust," first appearing on coins during the Civil War and becoming official on all U.S. currency by the mid-20th century, was a constant reminder of the moral and religious heritage perceived by many Americans. The word "liberty," linked with Jefferson's enduring legacy as the author of the Declaration of Independence, carried immense weight during the bicentennial decades following the nation's founding. The 1996 nickel, therefore, carried not just monetary value but symbolic weight in everyday transactions. Collectors often view the 1996 nickel as a relatively accessible coin because of its high mintage. Circulated examples remain extremely common, and uncirculated rolls are still obtainable without great difficulty. However, the challenge lies in finding premium-grade coins with pristine surfaces, sharp strikes, and full steps. Third-party grading services such as PCGS and NGC play an important role in certifying and encapsulating high-grade examples, giving collectors confidence in their authenticity and condition. The Proof 1996S nickel stands apart from circulation issues because of its superior production quality. Collectors of proof sets treasure the 1996S Jefferson nickel for its mirror-like fields and cameo contrasts. Deep cameo examples, where Jefferson's portrait appears frosted against deeply mirrored fields, are especially desirable. These proof coins, while not rare, provide an excellent window into the artistry and technical precision of the U.S. Mint during the 1990s. Historically, the Jefferson nickel as a series has been both celebrated and critiqued. Some numismatists appreciate its stability and dignified design, while others argue that the design became stale after decades of use. The 1996 issue reflects this continuity. A coin that was instantly recognizable to the public, trusted for its metallic stability, and produced in enormous numbers, yet also overshadowed by the anticipation of new designs that would soon reshape the coinage landscape. The 2013 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson nickel, represents one of the most enduring and recognizable pieces of circulating coinage in America. While the Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, the 2013 issue reflects a modern stage of the design's evolution, with modifications that were introduced in the early 2000s to refresh the portrait of Jefferson and to sharpen the details of Monticello. Although the nickel is often overlooked compared to silver coinage or limited edition issues, the 2013 5-cent coin carries with it a story of tradition, innovation, and continued relevance in American life and numismatics. On the obverse of the coin is the forward-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. This portrait differs significantly from Felix Schlag's 1938 left-facing profile. Beginning in 2006, the U.S. Mint introduced a new design created by Jamie Franke that presented Jefferson in a more intimate and lifelike manner. The 2013 issue continues this modernized depiction, showing Jefferson gazing outward, as if making eye contact with the holder of the coin. This bold portrait places greater emphasis on Jefferson's individuality and character, while giving the nickel a refreshed look for the 21st century. Inscriptions on the obverse remain traditional and symbolic. The words "In God We Trust" appear prominently along the left rim of the coin, a motto that has been a defining feature of U.S. coinage for generations. To the right of Jefferson's face is the word "Liberty," rendered in Jefferson's own handwriting style, which adds a personalized historical connection between the coin and the man it commemorates. Directly following the word "Liberty" is the date 2013, accompanied by the mint mark indicating the production facility, either P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco in the case of proof coins. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, an image that has remained central to the series since 1938. Though modified slightly over the years for sharpness and clarity, Monticello remains a neoclassical architectural symbol of Jefferson's intellect, design, and influence on American culture. Above the domed building is the inscription E Pluribus Unum, a Latin motto meaning "out of many, one," which symbolizes unity among the states. Below Monticello appears the building's name itself, followed by the denomination 5 cents, and the issuing nation United States of America. Together, these elements form a design that communicates tradition, national pride, and Jefferson's legacy. From a minting standpoint, the 2013 nickel was produced in large numbers to meet circulation demand. The Philadelphia and Denver mints struck hundreds of millions of coins each, ensuring that the 2013 issue remains widely available in commerce. In addition to circulation strikes, the San Francisco Mint produced proof nickels for collectors, which were distributed in proof sets. These proof coins were struck using highly polished dies and planchets, creating mirror-like fields and frosted devices that display the design with exceptional clarity. The 2013 S-proof nickels are especially prized when found in deep cameo quality, where Jefferson's portrait and Monticello contrast dramatically against the brilliant mirrored surfaces. One of the most important aspects of the 2013 nickel is its place within the modern numismatic landscape. By 2013, collectors were well into the era of the 50-state quarters, presidential dollars, and America the Beautiful quarters. These programs had dramatically increased public interest in collecting coins directly from circulation. While the nickel did not undergo such frequent design changes, the 2013 issue benefited from the heightened awareness and enthusiasm for U.S. coinage. Many casual collectors began to include Jefferson nickels in their albums, particularly searching for uncirculated examples, proofs, and coins with strong strikes showing full steps on Monticello. The phrase "In God We Trust" on the 2013 nickel carries forward a tradition that stretches back more than a century and a half. First appearing on U.S. coins during the Civil War, the motto became a permanent part of coinage in the 20th century and remains one of the most recognizable expressions of American identity. Its presence on the 2013 nickel ties the coin to a larger narrative of faith, patriotism, and continuity in U.S. history. The word "liberty" written in Jefferson's own script is another subtle yet powerful detail. It reinforces Jefferson's role as the author of the Declaration of Independence and as one of the most eloquent defenders of liberty in American history. By placing this word beside his modernized portrait, the 2013 nickel becomes both a financial instrument and a miniature monument to the ideals upon which the United States was founded. Collectors evaluating the 2013 nickel pay close attention to strike quality, luster, and preservation. Circulation strikes are often encountered with marks from handling and contact with other coins, but uncirculated rolls can yield coins with beautiful mint luster and sharp detail. Of special interest are coins with full steps on Monticello. Full step designations are highly sought after by registry set collectors because they demonstrate exceptional striking quality, which is uncommon even in modern issues. Coins graded at MS67 or higher with full steps by leading grading services such as PCGS or NGC can command impressive premiums compared to ordinary uncirculated coins. Error varieties are another area where the 2013 nickel sparks collector curiosity. Although modern minting technology has reduced the frequency of striking errors, they still occur. Examples include off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, and other anomalies. Such pieces transform a common modern nickel into a collectible rarity, often fetching multiples of face value depending on the severity and visibility of the error. Economically, the 2013 nickel also reflects the ongoing debate about the cost of producing U.S. coinage. For years, the Mint has reported that the cost to manufacture and distribute a nickel exceeds its face value. In 2013, this debate continued as policymakers discussed whether to alter the composition of the coin to save money. Despite these discussions, the nickel remained in its long-standing composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, preserving its familiar look and feel. This decision further reinforced the nickel's role as a stable and enduring part of the U.S. coinage system. The 2013 Jefferson nickel therefore represents a blend of tradition and modernity. Its design honors one of America's most influential founding fathers, while incorporating updated artistry that appeals to contemporary sensibilities. Its production and distribution ensure it remains one of the most familiar coins in American pockets, while its collector varieties, proofs, full steps, and errors offer areas of specialization for numismatists. The coin stands as a reminder that even in an age dominated by electronic transactions and digital currency, tangible coins remain symbols of identity, history, and value.